What's going on, Cowboys fans? It's your boy, Footster King. As always, thank you all for liking, sharing, and subscribing. You guys know the name. You guys know the face. Me and Zach have been doing a lot of work together. We're actually going to be doing a lot more, and we'll talk about that more as the show ends. And we'll talk about it at the end of the show. Zach, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you? I mean, not really great with how the Cowboys have been playing. We got a game coming up on Thursday, but they did get a win, so I guess I'm feeling all right.
All right, to say the least, huh, Zach?
Yep.
Yeah,
I think how it is right now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because nobody air quote wanted a win, Zach. And some of the things that we're going to talk about in this stock up, stock down is like, did you want the Cowboys to win? No, but did you feel better when they won, Zach? Did you?
Yes, I did. I did not care until the last 3 minutes of the game when it got chaotic. I was like, I don't care. I don't want them to win. Blah blah blah. Until everything started happening, then I'm like, okay, they got to win now. I mean, we got to this point.
Yeah. No, I feel the exact same way, and we're talking pre-show, Zach, and to me, it's like, as we think about building out this roster for next year, Micah Parsons came out and said, this is not a bad team. Then the Cowboys go out and beat a Washington team where people could say it's a fluke, it's a divisional game. Dallas controlled the game. I know the score got out of control late, but the Cowboys controlled the game. Had they not had the fumble from Rico, the drop from Jalen Tolbert, the special teams, like that was the worst special teams game on both sides of the ball, probably in NFL history. Had they not had some of that stuff happen, because we had a missed kick, Zach, like you look at that team, you say, okay, they just beat a pretty good Washington team. Maybe they aren't as bad as we think. And as we look into evaluation, Zach, that's what this stock up, stock down will be. So this video is brought to you guys by BetUS. As you all know, we're in the height of all these sports seasons, NBA, NFL, all of these things. BetUS has all your betting needs. Thank you so much, BetUS, for sponsoring this video, for sponsoring me and Zach's channel. Zach has a deal with BetUS as well, so thank you, BetUS. Now, Zach, before we get into stock up, stock down, obviously the news about Mike McCarthy and possibly coming back. Now, we were talking about Mike Zimmer early on the show. Zach, no thoughts, no research. Troy Aikman, who I have my thoughts about Troy because it was interesting. Troy, he's like, oh, CD can't run routes, and they're not running great routes. Everybody agrees. Then Troy on the broadcast says, hey, bring Mike McCarthy back. And it's like everybody disagrees. Where are you at with the whole Mike McCarthy could possibly be extended?
When I initially heard it, I thought it was Jerry grabbing headlines, typically like he does, especially when the team isn't doing as well. I wasn't excited about it just because of what has happened so far this year. Now, I know they're injury riddled, and if you put it into perspective, Mike won 12 games 3 years in a row. The only years that he's really been bad per se, other than when you get to the playoffs, is in 2020 without Dak and in 2024 without Dak. But Mike McCarthy was brought in here to win playoff games, not to get to the playoffs, because Jason Garrett got to the playoffs, multiple times. They brought him in to win playoff games and eventually win a Super Bowl, and that hasn't happened. And then you compound this season, it being the last year of his deal, injuries or not, it hasn't been good. I wasn't super excited about it, and I would like to go towards a young, innovative offensive coordinator. I want the play caller. Ben Johnson is the name that I think of. But when I initially heard it, I wasn't super excited, but I also get the idea of he's won 36 games in 3 years. This year's kind of and that's where we're at.
I think the hard thing for fans to kind of wrap their head around is this team hasn't quit on Mike for whatever reason. We saw a team quit on Jason Garrett. We saw a team quit on Wade Phillips. Like, we've seen teams quit on these head coaches. This team has not quit on Mike McCarthy. He has not lost the locker room. You thinking about a guy like Micah Parsons who podcast, guess what? Micah Parsons is playing harder than anybody on the team. Anybody. And that's a fact. Like, to me, I'm not saying you bring Mike McCarthy back, but if this team riddles off, how many games are left, Zach? 7 games?
Yeah, I think so.
6 games. I don't think they'll run the table because I don't think they'll beat Philly. Philly's just too loaded right now. We can't score at the same clip they can.
Yeah.
But let's say you go out and you clip Cincy, and you clip Washington again, or you clip. I mean, crazier things have happened, and his argument will be when he comes to the table, negotiating table will be, the team was injured, lost his quarterback. Micah didn't play a couple games. Actually, Micah was out for about 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence has been out. Marshawn Nealon's been out. Deron Bland stepped wrong in training camp and just came back in week whatever this is. In November. Diggs has been in and out the line. So he's going to have a valid argument. Do I want Mike McCarthy back? I don't. I think it's time to turn the page. However, I think the Joneses realize when you turn the page on Mike McCarthy, you're turning the page on everything. Like his mantras, his staff, his beliefs, how he practices. I don't think people know how much that goes into an NFL, like what all goes into an NFL day. That's all Mike's imprint. So I do think that that's an interesting conversation moving, especially if the team doesn't quit. I know go ahead, Zach.
And something I was gonna mention was Wanye Thomas. If you remember when the conversation was about Mike McCarthy getting fired before the end of his contract last year, after the debacle to Green Bay, if you remember when it was announced that McCarthy was coming back, Wanye Thomas tweeted about it. Jake Ferguson tweeted about it. You know, they were tweeting out like memes of McCarthy wearing the wind chain or whatever. Like people, I think players like him. I mean, that's something that we don't really get to see because we're obviously not in the locker room and we have our gripes with Mike McCarthy and his play calling and whatnot. But I really do think that people in the building, in the locker room, like him.
I mean, the report came out about Dak going to his hometown, his house or whatever. Like they like Mike McCarthy and they haven't quit on Mike. They haven't. They like Mike. I think they haven't quit on Zimmer. You know, when Micah comes out and says, "Hey, I love this defense. It's better than people think." You know, there's people out there who, oh no, they're giving up so many points. But I'm watching film. I'm watching all 22. I'm like, man, Mike's running some multiple stuff. We talked about it pre-show. Mike's running multiple stuff. He's putting guys in different positions, and it looks good. Like it looked good against a good offense, regardless of how they've been playing as of late. The Washington Commanders are a good offense, Zach. So I think that this is going to be interesting conversationally and conversation-wise moving forward. Okay, Zach, let's get the stock up, stock down. And I'm going to riddle off some names, Zach, and I kind of want to talk about these names and whether you agree with me. I got a stock up list. I got a stock down list. And whether you agree with me, what's your thoughts? So, number 1, stock up for me, Mike Zimmer. How do you feel, Zach? Wrong, right? What are your thoughts?
I would have called you crazy about 4 weeks ago if you would have told me that Mike Zimmer was going to have a good game at any point this season, because it kind of felt like that was the track that we were on. You know, they're at least playing on the road this week. You know, at home, they've been really bad. But I think that group has started to mesh well together. They're starting, you know, like you said, Zimmer's throwing out a bunch of different looks. Guys are getting used differently. Deron Bland was back. That unit has been missing pieces. If we remember, and we tend to forget about it as the weeks go on and you're giving up 35, 40 points, you're getting beat down, and you have Chauncey Golston as your starting end, as your starting edge, and you have he played really well, but you have Butler at corner and you have Izzy who hasn't played 3 or 4 years and he's having to play a ton of snaps. But even with all of that and kind of getting those pieces back one at a time, I think Zimmer has kind of started to not figure it out, but figure out what he wants to do. Guys are buying into it, and they seem like they're tired of getting their butts whooped, week over week. So I would agree with the stock up on Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, I mean, when Chauncey Golston's your DN 2 or 3, and he's shown some good things, but when he's your main pass rusher, it's not enough juice. And listen, I'll even give credit for Mike using DeMarvin Overshown as a rusher at times. He's like, I got to generate some type of pressure. So, and I actually have a sneaky thought about draft and defense, and we'll talk about that later, Zach. But yeah, so Mike Zimmer stock up, cool. All right, number 2, Osa Odigizua, Zach, stock up for me. How about you?
This past week, on the trajectory of how he's played so far this year, stock up for me this week. Going forward, I'm wondering what Osa gets on the open market, because he's someone that I've liked ever since they drafted him in the 3rd round back in 2020, I believe. He is
UCLA.
At UCLA. He's been pretty much your only 3 tech that could consistently rush the passer. He hasn't been as good this year, and he does tend to kind of wear down as seasons go on for whatever reason. But I would be interested in buying Osa Odigizua stock moving forward. And I think he is a guy that this year's kind of downplayed it a little bit, but I think he's somebody that you could potentially look to paying, and he should get better as the year goes on. So he's a stock up guy for me.
Yeah. I like that explanation. I can see you're like, how do I really frame this with him?
Yeah,
because
it's tough. This year has thrown everything out of whack. Like, it's all over the place, because if you told me last year they're going to pay Osa, I would say 100%, he might even be out of their price range. But this year, he hasn't been quite as good. But just looking back, and after the game he just had, he's getting better this year, as the whole defense is. So that's why he's kind of a stock up guy.
Yeah, man, just letting Zimmer's scheme kind of grow. Yeah, I'm cool with it. A few more. DeMarvin Overshown. We don't have to take too much time on this one, Zach, because I think we both kind of know how he's been. But just a brief, what do you feel about DeMarvin Overshown?
Overshown is that dude. Like, he's going to be a big piece of this defense for the next few years. You hope that he stays healthy. He's played really good this year. He gets better every single week. And one of the things that I like about Overshown is on the TV copy, just watching it live, he consistently pops off the screen. Number 13 is all over the field all the time. And he's a guy that I'm looking forward to this team, this organization building around him and Micah and other guys for the next few years.
Yeah, the speed component, man. I think that was one of Dan Quinn's things. But like with Overshown, it's like they've taken it to another level. The next DC, or if it is, continues to be Mike Zimmer, knowing how to use him will be important. I don't think he fits in everybody's defense. I think you literally have to play him up and around the line of scrimmage, kind of like how you play Micah. The growth part for him will be being able to play on the back end and cover a little bit better. It's weird. Like, you would think somebody with his athletic ability, Zach, would cover a little bit better, but he actually doesn't. And so that's kind of like one thing that he can grow on. But I really like DeMarvin Overshown. 2, we'll talk about 2 here, and this will be interesting. Brevin Spanford and Rico Dowdle. Now, Rico Dowdle, I have a line through, because while he played good this year, I don't know if his stock is up, down, or just, how sometimes they just have that straight line where it's like it hasn't moved for me. I think that's where I'm at with Rico Dowdle. Brevin Spanford, on the other hand, stock up for me. Texans game, this game, he's starting to show that he's a reliable hands guy and that he's a great blocker, big body. What do you think about Brevin and Rico?
So I was trying to look up the stat and I couldn't find it. But if you look at Rico Dowdle's usage versus his success rate versus other top backs, I mean, obviously he's not getting the workload, and I'm biased. Even in the draft process when Dallas didn't go and get their running back, I like Rico, and
Yes.
I have. But when you look at his success rate compared to, it sounds crazy, but Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, like he's up in the top 5 of running backs having success when he touches the ball. So I'm a stock up guy. I would love to see not build the running back room around him, but being here as long as he has, putting in the work. I don't think he's got a fair shot this year. The whole Ezekiel Elliott thing just bugged the hell out of me. But
it was a mess.
Yeah, it was a mess. But if Dallas wants to go out and draft a running back, it would be cool to find somebody to pair with Rico and, like I said, not build around, but add to the running back room. And maybe Rico is somebody that you could get back on a 1 to 2 year deal or whatever. But for Brevin Spanford, I'm with you. I stock up. He's had a couple good games here over the last few weeks where he's kind of, starting to stack performances to where like this guy might be somebody that you like over Luke Schoonmaker next year.
Man.
If Mike McCarthy's not here. Schoonmaker's not Schoonmaker is a McCarthy guy.
Yes.
So, and that's something that we can talk about too with the new coaching staff coming in. If that does happen, kind of a lot of these guys kind of fall out of favor, and then it starts evening out with competition. I know Luke Schoonmaker hadn't got a whole lot of snaps over the past few weeks until the Jake Ferguson injury. But I'm with you. Brevin Spanford is a stock up guy, great blocker. He's shown some things in the passing game. I liked McCarthy's design on that one play down the seam with Brevin Spanford.
Yes.
Running wide open. So I'm with you. Stock up.
Yeah, man. He has something that you can't coach, and that's amazing height. Yeah. But he has a little like play strength. We were talking about this before. So play strength is so underrated. Like, how do you physically play? And we'll talk about a player who I don't like their play strength in my stock down. But yeah, man, listen, Brevin, to me, he looks the part. And like I said, the next coach, whoever's calling the offense, whether it's Mike or whether it's, whoever it is, may look at it and say, man, I like this kid. So cool. I got a few more on my stock up. We don't have to go into detail about Micah Parsons and CD. I had them on my stock up. And the reason why I have them is just because I think they just played hard and they're like giving their all. And that to me is like very dope professionalism. Like these guys are playing hard, Zach. Like, shout out to both of those guys. You got anything on them before I go?
Really, really quick. People, go on about Micah doing the podcast and all of the stuff and whatever it is. People have their complaints about Micah, but ever since he got back from that injury, I think the Cowboys defense has allowed one third down conversion of like 3rd and 7+ over the last 17 or 18. They've allowed one 3rd and long conversion since Micah got back. And that's what having a good pass rusher will do for your defense. I mean, he's over there step for step with Jaden Daniels. And, it's just having a guy like that for all the gripes that we have for what he does off the field. He makes your team better every single snap.
What a crazy stat. Before the game, one of my crazy stat that I found was since Mike has been back, Dallas is top 5 in pass rush rate, top 5 in third down conversion defense and third down defense. So that points to your stat that you just gave. Like people who say let's trade Micah, I can't. You're unserious, very unserious. So yeah,
I can't believe people say it after watching the Dallas defense the past couple weeks. Like we saw what it looks like without him, and it's bad.
Unserious, Zach. And then CD is CD, man. Constantly gets open. The sad thing is Cooper Rush doesn't push the ball downfield, so you're getting a lot of these dink and dunk and 5-yard comeback hitch, 5 and out, whatever.
And catches for 60 yards.
Yeah, that was bad. 6-yard average. Just like,
Yeah, it's
what
rough.
are we doing? But that's what you're gonna get with Cooper Rush. So my last one here, Zach, as my stock up is Mozzie Smith, and I want to take my time on this one. I believe I was listening to something today that talked about Cam Hayward and how his first couple years in the league, he as a D tackle just he wasn't good. Now he's one of the best D tackles in the NFL. I firmly believe, yes, Jalen Carter's had an amazing start to his career. But I believe if Mozzie keeps trending the right way and he's kind of broken through that mental side of things, and if he can keep trending this way, I do believe that Mozzie will have a great career in the NFL because on that first rep, when he bench pressed Biotis, it's like that's what he was brought in the NFL to do. Welcome to the NFL, Mozzie Smith.
We talked about it, and everybody's talked about it for over the past couple of years. The defensive tackle position is one that takes a couple years to develop. Like there's going to be the NFL is grown men's strength. Even if you have that, then you got to have the technique to go along with it. People compare him to like with the Jalen Carter thing. Like he came into the league, he's really good. That was a generational type defensive tackle. Like the only reason he got drafted at number 8, I believe, to the Eagles, maybe I would think it was number 8, like was because of the off-field stuff.
Yeah.
There were issues off the field with him working out properly and other stuff. That's the only reason he really even made it to 8. Cowboys got Mozzie at 20 something. Was the value necessarily there when they drafted him? I don't know. But I agree with you. I would give Mozzie the full 4 years to figure it out. You spend a first-round pick on him. He has shown way more flashes than we saw last year. So that's improvement in itself. And like you said, when he bench pressed Biotis on the very first snap, like that's the guy that this team needs. And the hope is in year 3, he takes another step forward. So
no, I man, to be honest with you, Zach, like this is the best thing about sports development. This is, I mean, it was well documented that he was going through some things. His confidence wasn't there. I think he's starting to believe that he's good. I think he's starting to see like, yo, I can do this. I can play. And like once that light goes off in a kid, man, like that's what you do it for. That's why you draft. That's why Jerry is big on the draft. And listen, Jerry is going to have to attack free agency in this offseason, right? But I still think like there's a world for draft and development. I mean, look at the way Bryce Young played against Kansas City. Like people were ready to write this kid off. And it's clear he has NFL talent. There's things that need to happen around him for him to consistently be good, but he can play. It's the same thing with Mozzie Smith. You get a new coaching staff in here that's saying, like, you know what? Hey, Mozzie, every rep, you're not going to try to fly upfield. Hey, let's learn how to play box. I mean, give Jeff Z, I don't know his last name always. Give Jeff Z a lot of credit.
Yep.
He said it all offseason. We want to play blocks better. We want to press better. We want to get on that upfield shoulder and play with hands. We want to do these things the right way. We need to play the game. We need to know what we're getting. And Mozzie looks like there's times when he's still getting doubled and he doesn't feel that right and he'll get moved out the way, but it's not as much.
No.
And so I'm proud of that.
Yeah. It's going to make it that much better if he does end up being a good player down the road. It's just one of those things where it's like defensive tackle is a position that takes a while. It's well documented throughout the NFL. Some guys can come in and be, good players, but it's going to make it that much better if Mozzie does end up panning out, and, being a piece for this defense next year after he takes, hopefully, another step forward.
Hopefully another step. Yeah, I agree. All right, Zach, moving right along. I'll just do these last 3 and all together. And then if you have an actual thought on any of these 3 for my stock down, and then we can call it a day, man. So, Zach, I got Cooper Rush, Zach Martin, and Jalen Tolbert. Now, people say, first, Jalen Tolbert caught a touchdown. Why is he on your stock down? I just don't like his play strength. I don't want to – this is fool's gold to me. I don't want to look at Jalen Tolbert and say, oh, no, we don't need a receiver. if anything, the person who would make me say that is maybe Turpin because he's not being used to his full potential. But it's not going to be Jalen Tolbert. I think that Jalen Tolbert is a wide receiver 4 at best. I don't even see his ceiling as being a wide receiver 3. I still, we talked about this pre-show again. When have we ever seen Jalen Tolbert break a tackle? You haven't. Mm-mm. Doesn't matter. Like, and the route running is cool, but I just don't think it's enough. Zach Martin stock down because of how well the guards played, both guards, TJ Bass, Brock Hoffman. And it's like, man, it really is over for Zach because you can't watch that film and say, I'm going to go, especially like Washington has some nice D linemen, like, Hankins. I mean, not Hankins, excuse me. Deron Payne, those guys. So like they have a good defense. And then Cooper Rush, I mean, it's Cooper Rush, Zach. So do you have a thought or it's just Cooper Rush?
Yeah. With Jalen Tolbert, I'm in the same boat with the stock down stuff. The training camp hype, really built up, and you guys can blame me for that. All right, that's fair enough. I was buying into the Tolbert hype. But there's just certain things that happen, and it's like, dude, that's just not the wide receiver that this team needs. The drop on third down that hit him in the hands. There's just things that don't work out. Now, another guy with the stock down was Cooper Rush, who is throwing Jalen Tolbert the ball, which the combination in of itself is not great. I'm with you. It's just Cooper Rush at this point. Like, you know what you're getting. Even with the win, I'd love to throw Trey Lance out there. I mean, we have some fun, be entertained, and maybe you get a better draft pick because of it, whatever. And then Zach Martin, we've watched it all year long. Like, it's coming to an end. That's just the sad reality of it is we obviously know the name. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, one of the best guards. But it's just Father Time catches up with everybody. If you go back and watch the film this year, I think I've counted just on what I've watched 2 or 3 plays that probably could have went for touchdowns if Zach Martin makes his block. And he can't block in space. He can't get there because of the age. And it's sad, but I was thoroughly impressed. And those are 2 stock up guys for me, Bass and Hoffman. I thought they played really well.
Oh, man, and I'm going to tell you, watching those guys block Zach, and then now you get Tyler Smith back this week, and we'll be able to evaluate even more. That's the rest of the season is about evaluation, right? Seeing what you have, and that's what this whole video is about. But I'm going to tell you, this is telling me, Foots ain't drafting an O-lineman in no first round. Like, may not draft an O-lineman, period. Develop these guys. Get these guys better. Like, let's get players better. Let's get let's coach these guys up. So I completely agree.
I got a question for you real quick.
Yep.
Is Hoffman a better guard or a center?
Bro, I think he's a better guard. Yep. I think, and like, there's people who are saying, no. Just put BB at guard. Nah, I think let's let BB settle in at center. I think that there's a few times where BB hasn't climbed next level and done what he was supposed to do. But it's his second. Obviously, the snaps that's not going to help his case. Like the snaps this week, he had a few that were just goofy. With all that said, Zach, it's literally the kid's first notably bad game after switching to a new. People are so impatient, bro. It just, and I used to be like this with players. Oh, just throw them away. We need a new tackle, everybody. Oh, Tyler Guyton sucks. Dude, he hasn't given up a pressure in like 3 weeks or whatever. Like maybe like 2 pressures in 3 weeks. Well, I mean, relax. This is what it is. These guys, I mean, go look at Tyron Smith. Tyron Smith hasn't played good this year. He hasn't. He hasn't even been a good pass blocker for the Jets this year. That was his calling card last year. So I just think that people got to be patient. But yeah, to answer your question, Zach, 100%, I think Hoffman is a better guard than tackle. I mean, excuse me, guard than center. So, Zach, you got any other thoughts, buddy, or how you feel?
I think I'm good. I think we got to everybody that I I had stock up, stock down for the game. Also, Cavante Turpin, shout out to him.
Yeah. Stock up for
throw
sure.
him the ball, let him return. He's probably not going to get another kick return this year because of that right there. But stock up for Cavante Turpin too.
Yeah, stock up for Cavante Turpin. And Zach, we can let these people in on a little secret. Well, we already talked about and let them know about the draft guy, but we have a bunch of draft topics coming your way, me and Zach, and we're gonna be on this channel collabing a lot. On my channel, on his channel. It's gonna be like the running podcast. So you guys tap in with us. I'm so excited to work with Zach. And Zach, thank you, man, for coming on the channel tonight and doing this. And you guys remember, bet US. All your betting needs, bet US can take care of you. So Zach, Zachary, Zach, thank you for joining me, man. It's your boy Fuss as always. Thank you all for liking, sharing, subscribing. Peace.
Love you all. Bye.
We love you. Bye.